Hello and welcome to this edition of the Break It Down Brown Show. I'm your host, Marr Brown. Normally on the show, we look at everyday life issues, challenges, and subjects, and we break them down. And normally the point of the show is not to change your opinion, rather to change your perspective. But we're going to do things a little bit different today because we have a very special guest who has a company that teaches you how to train your smartphones. Now, did you know that you have two brains, right? We have the brain that's in our head up here. We also have this little thing called a smartphone, which is also a brain. And this gentleman has developed a program which teaches us how to train our smartphones so that we can be more efficient, more effective, and more productive. And on the Break It Down Brown Show, I always speak from reality and not theory. So I have actually gone through this person's program, and I will tell you that you do not want to miss what we're going to talk about. So if you're ready to train your smartphone, let's break it down. All right, welcome back to the Break It Down Brown Show. We're here with our very special guest, KJ. And KJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
KJ, your idea literally is worth thousands of dollars to anybody right off the bat. And I want to, before I have you go into your background and everything, because it's really fascinating what you've been through, I saw you speak at a Chamber of Commerce function. You were the keynote speaker. And I was blown away about how you help people learn how to train their smartphones is what you called it. And you had a course that I signed up for, wrote a check right then and there, and I went to your class yesterday, and I would have paid double for it easily.
Thank you.
So before we dive into your background, just so the audience knows exactly what's going on with you and your business, give us one tip about how to better use our smartphones to have a more efficient life.
So hypothetically speaking, you're at a networking event and you do a lot of shaking of hands and meeting people and collecting business cards.
Right.
And so the moment you shake someone's hand, they say, "Thank you, it was a pleasure to meet you. Could you possibly send me some additional information about what it is that you do for a living?" You got me a little excited.
Right.
Typically the networker, what they do is they either go home, they go to their next meeting, 24 hours, 48 hours passes, and you know in the rule of prospecting and networking, if you're past 48 hours, you tend to lose that client.
Makes sense.
So what we teach in one of the many things that we teach in our course is to be able to use your memo pad to the fullest extent. Therefore, you would open up a new memo, you would label it at the top like WWD, which stands for what we do. And then down below, you'd put a nice overview about your company, including links. And then you would save it into your memo. So the next time you met someone and they said, "Could you send me some information?" you would simply open up your memo, find the WWD, open it up, hit the forward button. It would transfer that into a nice, beautiful email. All you needed to do was put their email address in the section, and it's gone.
Wow.
No spell check, no wasting time, no waiting to get home tomorrow, the next day, and so on.
Well, like I said, you know, that right there is worth so much time and money, because I actually was at a couple of networking functions this week, and let me show you what I picked up. This is some of the cards that I picked up, and your program shows how to go from these cards, you know, sort of fumbling around, trying to figure out what to do with them, to doing things like you just said, following up more quickly, getting things into your phone and using your phone to its fullest potential.
Absolutely.
So what I'd like to do with that as a backdrop, now that our audience knows how impactful your program is, tell us about your background, because you know you didn't just wake up one day and have this idea. You know, you've gone through some things in your life, you've experienced some things, and sort of take us through, you know, your background, and then, you know, how you came to be the KJ of today.
Well, I'm originally from San Francisco, California. I grew up, you know, my mom and dad, they split at an early age, and it was 5 siblings. My mom got in an accident, and she was handicapped. And so I kind of had free reign all through high school, whether I wanted to go to class or not. You know, I just,
Wow.
And unfortunately, I didn't graduate on time. And so I moved to St. Louis with my dad, who's a pastor. And he pretty much got me back on track and got me into the military. So I served 5 years in the military as a hygienist during Desert Storm War.
Wow.
And after I got out, I thought about applying to Loma Linda University Dental School.
Wait, one second, because you know, we like to honor our military, and I know that you received a special recognition.
Yes.
That I read in your bio. So tell us about that.
Well, I was accommodated for the military for my work in helping patients, not just on the battleship Missouri, but in terms of when we would be out in the middle of the Korean Ocean, being helicoptered to other little small ships who needed to stay dental readiness. So it was me and a dentist that would fly all around the oceans and different countries, helping ships that were out on what's called a Westpac. And so I received that award, which was my second award. The first one was a command advancement program for my work.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you.
It's sometimes we don't really think about, and the Break It Down Brown show really breaks down things that people may overlook in life. And I think what you just mentioned is there's so many aspects of the military, so many people are doing so many different things. And I want to say thank you to our military and thank you to you for your service as well. So,
thank you.
Okay, so you're in the military, you received some special recognition, and your dad's helping you, so take it from there. All right.
So after my years in the military, I ended up getting out of the military, and I was a little disappointed that I couldn't go to Loma Linda University. So someone told me I should sell cars. And I thought that was, I said, oh, that's a dirtbag job. I wouldn't want to do that. And 3 weeks later, I was selling cars at Long Beach Nissan. And so, as a matter of fact, the young lady walked on the lot. I sold her a car. 9 months later, I married her.
Oh, wow.
The next day, I ended up making the payments.
Okay.
And this month, we've been married 20 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great.
And so after 5 years of serving in the car dealership world, I ended up buying my own car dealership. Broker/dealer. And I ended up becoming one of the biggest brokers in California.
Well, because to go from not even wanting to be in the car business to being successful in the car business to then opening up your own business, tell me about the mindset, because you have a book we're going to talk about in a second that talks about the mindset of success. So tell me real briefly about the mindset of that transition, going from resisting, even getting into the business, and then being successful, because sometimes people walk into things resisting, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They've already talked themselves out of success before they even start. But you went from not wanting to do it to being successful at it, and then sort of having a bigger vision of, well, look, let me open my own business. So I really want our listeners to understand what was the mindset that made those transitions happen.
Just being open-minded to new opportunities. After you've decided that you didn't want to do something, maybe you sit back and think about it, and there's all types of possibilities. My mom told me to eat those peas. I told her I didn't want it, but when I tasted it, it was pretty good, right? So I stayed open-minded, and I got into the car business. And my mom told me at a young age that I would be a young man that loved to help people. And so when I got into the car business, I fell in love with helping people. Every hour, every 2 hours, helping a new client go from wanting something to not maybe wondering if they can get it to getting it. So seeing someone coming in with the possibility look on their face to I did it. And so I fell in love not with the car business, but with the people business. The cars were just a byproduct. But the people were something that I was really engaged into, and that led me to opening up my own dealership.
And I think what you just said is important, because with your business now, the smartphone training and the class that I went to, it was obvious that you were there to really help people get this. It wasn't just, I got your money, I got your check, all right, move on to the next course. It was really, you spent the time to really walk people through step by step how to use their smartphone better. And so getting back to your transition in the car business and helping people, tell me, because you also do sales training and things like that. That's part of your program. And a lot of times people may confuse selling with being a selfish thing. And you're saying you love to help people. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that I think can benefit from your perspective of how do you get comfortable as a salesperson knowing that you have to make a living, you have to make money, but the bigger picture is you're helping someone. Even in the car business, in which a lot of people have their opinions about car salesmen, you're breaking that mold, but people have their opinions about it. So how did you address that in your approach to sales?
Well, in sales, there's two ways to look at it. There's a customer that steps in front of you, or a prospect, and your thought process is, I need to close this to make money. My thought process when I see you is, I quickly think about the end. about your smile
Okay.
and how I think you're going to feel based on what it is that I have to offer to you.
Okay.
And then I work backwards.
Okay.
And so, you know, people don't know how much you care until they know that you care about them. And once someone knows that you care about them, then they'll open up to you, and then you're allowed to convey your message to them based on what it is that you think they need, which is based on what they tell you. Too many times we try to tell people what they need, and
Right.
they need, it's most important for them to tell us what they need from us. 2 ears is, you know, more listening than talking.
Excellent. And so when you made the transition from being a successful car salesman to opening up your own dealership, you obviously had to hire people and bring on help. How did you, I guess, approach the process of sales for your salespeople? How did you convey your attitude towards sales and selling and helping the customer to your people?
Well, in all of my sales meetings, you know, we started out with my wife and I and a newborn and a small office in Lakewood. And then 2 years later, we ended up with 25 salesmen doing about 225 cars a month.
Wow.
But in my sales meeting, I used to tell the client, our sales team, that these cars are just a byproduct. When they come to you, it's because they want a car. So we already know that. So we need to find out exactly what it is that that person needs. Find out a little bit about their story. You know, you don't have to ask someone right off the bat, how much do you make? What's your credit like? There's a way to find out passively while making them feel comfortable. And I only wanted to hire salesmen that love doing what they're doing, love selling cars. You know, in life, we always say, God first, family second, business third.
Right,
and I wanted it in that order because I knew if I could find salespeople that could break it down in that order, then we would have a successful company. And we did, because we had very small, minimal turnover.
Okay, excellent. Now, and I know that one of your requirements for your salespeople, and you shared this with me, was that they had to have a smartphone. And this might lead us into, you know, how you started your business, but why was having a smartphone so important for the people that you hired?
Well, you know, I started out with the BlackBerry, the big brick.
Right. Yep. I had one of those.
Ball on the side.
I couldn't stand it at first. Yeah.
And I couldn't stand it either. I remember first getting it saying, I think I need to return this thing. But I had time to myself to spend and learn the operating system and the way it worked. And I started to discover I could stay in contact with all my clients, my past, my present, and my future clients from the palm of my hand without me ever being around or even while I'm sleeping.
Wow.
And once I discovered that, then I got more in tune into the smartphone. I started going to these geek shows, finding out more. And then, as you said, when a salesman wanted to apply for a job, I would ask him, do you have a smartphone? And he would say no. And I'd say, well, you need to get one, because working here is a smartphone requirement, because we're going to show you how to stay in contact with your past, present, and future clients. Will allow you to make more income. And the more income you make, I'm sure the happier the missus will be.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I need to go back for a quick second, because I know that there's entrepreneurs watching this program that, you know, are saying, well, that's a great success story. It sounds like you just were naturally successful, but tell me about maybe some of the challenges that you had. I mean, I know success doesn't come without sacrifice. You mentioned your wife and your young infant there at meetings, and I could just imagine what that looked like. But tell me about some of the challenges that you faced and overcame that can help the entrepreneur watching this program.
Well, I've had a tremendous amount of challenges in my life, starting with in the 8th grade.
Okay.
I just wasn't the best student.
Okay.
So I had to repeat 8th grade. And as you know, as an 8th grader, that's very embarrassing.
Right, absolutely.
From there, I didn't graduate from high school on time. I had to go back and get my GED. From there, years later, as I started to get in the car business and do well, I was diagnosed with a severe case of diabetes. I walked into a hospital dizzy. They said I had a 700 sugar count. I should have been in a coma. So I was in the hospital for 3+ weeks. 9 months later, I lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
I started on my second book, From Mental Rags to Millionaire Mindset. And as I got started on that book, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And so from there, I went to a 30-hour surgery and months of chemo and radiation. So, you know, from an early age till now, it just seemed like one challenge after another. But as those challenges come, because of the past challenges, it has allowed me to be stronger and deal with each challenge. Sort of like, been there, done that, I'm gonna handle this this way, you know, instead of, woe me, why is it? And so, you know, you don't want to spend a lot of time in the rearview mirror, because if you do, you'll crash in what's in front of you. But I do take some of my challenges from the past, and not only do I use it for me, but I also present it to my audience to let them know, hey, listen, I'm not the American dream story, silver spoon in my mouth. I'm from, wasn't counted in, I was counted out as an early age growing up in Oakland, California, till now. And so that's my story.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I love breaking it down with people that come on the show, because everybody has a story, like you said, and
absolutely,
and everyone's struggling with something, whether it's a business or trying to balance work and family, or just trying to make it every single day. And it's always great to hear from someone that has been through some of the challenges that they're going through, but you've been through things that people can't even imagine. I mean, diabetes, you know, surviving cancer. I mean, those are huge, you know, things that you've overcome. And so I think you're going to inspire a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I feel as though I'm here for a reason. You know, God's kept me here. And so I need to do whatever I can. And that's why, as you've seen in my training, why I'm so passionate, why I want the person with no technology experience at the end of my course feel like, whoa, I'm a smartphone guru. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Well, let's do this. Speaking of the smartphone guru, which you are, before we head to break, tell us, where did that idea come from? I mean, it sounds like the usefulness of technology started to enter into your psyche when you're in the car business, and having your salespeople, you know, having cell phones and understanding how a cell phone can help you with, you know, keeping past contacts, present contacts, and future contacts. So at what point did you develop or discover your current business around smartphone technology training?
Well, as I said, in the car business, I became infatuated with smartphone technology. So for years, I was always playing with my phone and making my phone contact my clients and follow up and sending them messages like, you need an oil change, and then next year they would get something, and I had nothing to do with it. So I started to feel really good about using smartphones. After my cancer, my last day of chemo and radiation, I was on my bed praying to God, what am I going to do? And God said, go to GoDaddy. I thought that was kind of weird, but I went to GoDaddy. I didn't know what I was going to type, but I started typing, and I typed in trainyoursmartphone.com. And the bell just went off. I looked back at my wife and I said, babe, I just think God gave me an incredible company. And she says, what is it? And I said, Train Your Smartphone. And she says, really? Who's going to pay you to train them on their smartphone? I said, don't worry, God gave me the business. I'm going to be all right. And so I went to GoDaddy. I bought Train Your Smartphone, but I bought everything else. Train Your BlackBerry, TrainYourIPhone.com, Train Your Galaxy, your tablets, your iPads. I called up my web guy. I told him, I need you to build a website. He says, there's no money in that. I said, well, I don't pay you to think. I just pay you to build. So he built the website. I got with my lawyer. I got my paperwork. And right out the door, the first client who wanted to see me was Southern California Edison. And it's been a blast ever since.
Well, you talked about how you started your business and how the idea came to you. And I think the passion behind what you said is important for entrepreneurs that are watching the show, because oftentimes people have an idea, and when they're at a networking function and someone says, what do you do? And you see people kind of cower a little bit. You know, they're not really comfortable saying what they do. They don't have that, even though they might want to say it, something prevents them from really saying who they are and what they do and having a passion behind it. I didn't see that with you. What I heard was, God gave you this idea. You said, I'm going with it. I don't have all the things figured out, but it's in my heart, it's in my soul, and I'm going to go with it. And so I think I would want you to talk to those people, entrepreneurs out there that are, you know, they have an idea, but they're hesitant, and they, you know, want to move forward, but maybe, or for some reason, they're having a difficult time. So before we go into your whole business, Let's talk to those entrepreneurs for a second.
Well, a thought process on a good idea is just that. It's just a thought process, if not put into action.
Okay.
And you know, in the world we live in, there's two types of people. There's a W-2, and then there's an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And I don't, you know, whatever you love, I love it. I help people that work for somebody, and I do help people that want to become an entrepreneur. And the first thing I ask them is, do you have the passion? Do you love what you do? Because if you don't, just give it up right now. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the agony. Don't waste the family's time, the money that could be spent on something else. But if you absolutely love it, move forward, and most times you'll get a lot of pushback from family and friends, but you just can't pay attention to that because it's your gut that tells you, you know, when everyone's going left, I'm going to go right. And eventually those righters are go left. And so you have to have the passion, and then you have to study your craft. If you have competition, you need to figure out what the competition is doing. There's a whole lot of thought process and studying and just finding out how can you make what you do applicable to the world, goods and services, so to speak.
Well, and I call that, you know, I do a lot of coaching and teaching myself, and I call that the voice of distinction.
Right.
And everybody has that voice inside of them that is calling them to do something. And oftentimes when you're a W-2 employee or you're thinking about your bills and your family, you push that voice down.
Right.
You don't want to hear it.
Right.
The thing about it, though, is it never goes away.
Never.
And it's a constant sort of beating in your mind and your heart, and it's saying, Jamar, do something. KJ, this is what I want you to do. And so the fact that you went through so many difficulties in your life, you know, going through the 8th grade twice, dealing with diabetes, dealing with cancer, get into the car business, and you're still someone that is saying, you know, you can do it. You know, I'm going to follow my voice and follow my passion without having everything figured out. Because the most important thing is why you're doing it and are you passionate about it?
Right.
Because like you said, you can learn a lot of the other stuff, you know, through technology and Google and trainings and programs. You can learn competition, you can learn all that. But if you don't have the passion behind it and a why and a purpose for doing it, it's going to be very difficult. So with that as a backdrop, let's talk about some of the processes you put into place to grow your business. So you have the website, you have all the domains, which is very smart, by the way.
Thank you. You
have a good idea. And now, how do you get people to sign up for your training? Then what do you do?
Well, you go to networking events. You do some sort of advertising. Advertising can be tricky if you're a new entrepreneur and you don't have a lot of money. You have to figure out ways of advertising with not a lot of funds in your pocket, which coincidentally, when I teach smartphone technology, a lot of it is for those who don't have a lot of money, because you can run these campaigns from the palm of your hand, whereas in some of these campaigns, if you went out and tried to purchase them, they're thousands of dollars. True. Well, by taking my course, we'll show you how to run some of these campaigns from the palm of your hand for free. Right. And so you have to go to networking events, you have to be sharp, you have to have a clear and concise 30-second elevator pitch. You have to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about. You are the expert, and what you have that potential client may need. The other thing you have to have is the ability to be a big giver. Because biblically it says the more you give, the more you shall receive. True. And I'm a 100% believer in that. So I spend a lot of time going out, finding out what people do, putting them together with other people that I've met, even as a new entrepreneur. Because the more people you can connect together, things will come your way. It's just that you're not supposed to look for them. They will just come. Everything is delivered to us in due time. So being a bigger giver, coupled with being able to portray what your company does in a 30-second elevator pitch, meaning you need to pack it really powerful, a real powerful punch that when it's over, someone says, could you give me some additional information? That's when you know you've won.
Well, that's how you know, hook is a bad word, but I was hooked. You know, when I heard you talk, I said, I'm doing that. Period. I'm just going to do it. But one of the things you said really caught my attention, and it was about around how much time you could save a person. What was that number? Because that number
50% more productive on a daily basis.
Exactly. Right.
As well as recovering 63 lost minutes.
There we go.
Yes.
And so that was kind of one of the things that really affected me, because when I looked at going to these functions and having all these business cards and trying to figure out how to put in my computer, and you showed some tips that, I mean, literally it took a process that would take hours down to about 30 minutes. And I did it last night, because I'm one of those people that if I get some good information, I run with it. I don't like to wait, because, why wait? Just do it.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about the vision for your company now. We know kind of what it is, kind of what you do and why you do it. What's the vision of it? And when somebody attends one of your training classes, what do you want them to walk away feeling or thinking?
I want them to walk away feeling like they just took a course that allowed them to become 50% more productive on a daily basis. Okay. When I say recover 63 lost minutes, the question is, what do you do with the 63 lost minutes?
Golf.
That you gain it back. Golf,
right.
Family. Does it necessarily mean stay an hour over after work? No, not at all. There's only so much time in a day, and you need to be evenly balanced. And my program allows you to become evenly balanced, whereas at the 5 o'clock at the end of the day, you thought, okay, well, I had to work till 5 today, whereas through my program, you might end your day at 3 o'clock, possibly 2 o'clock.
Right.
Now, I don't know if your boss will let you end at 2 when you're off at 5, but it makes you more productive. Right. The more productive you are, a lot of things happens. Maybe you get a raise, maybe you become a manager because you've shown that productivity. So there's a lot of things that come out of my training besides just being more productive. Getting a raise, being able to get home earlier to the family, to the kids, have a better lifestyle when it comes to income.
Right, and that makes perfect sense, and everyone is trying to figure out how can they be more efficient with their time.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody's dealing with that. There's only so much time, and we have so much to do, and family and kids and practices and school and all these things, and relationships and husband, wives, and everyone's dealing with that. And so,
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that I recognized years ago, because I, trademarked the term Kaizen for sales and leadership, which means continuous improvement. The main part of it is how do you eliminate what's getting in the way of your success? Because so many people are focused on what more I can do and layering more things to their lives. When I say, look at what's not working, what shouldn't be there. If you start to strip away certain things, you realize that you can be more productive by not doing certain things.
Absolutely.
And that's, to me, what you're doing as well. It's teaching people how to be more productive by being more efficient with the things they already have.
Right.
And not adding more. You can go to another course on how to be more productive, or you can be more productive with the stuff you already have.
Right. Yes, being more productive with a phone, like you said, you already have this tool. I'm not asking you to go out and get another tool. I mean, eventually everybody does it, they upgrade.
Right.
But with the smartphone that you have, and coincidentally, if you go like this with your phone, meaning if it flips this way, I'm sorry, it's not a smartphone, it is a dumb phone, right? Not the operator, but the phone itself.
Right.
So you need what's called a smartphone. But with that smartphone, it has so many tools in it that it allows you to follow up, even when you're asleep. If you have clients on the East Coast, you can go to bed. You can make your smartphone wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and send messages to your client, ask questions, send emails, set up your phone calls. So when you wake up, you're 3 hours ahead of the competition.
Wow. And it's funny because earlier and I want you to give another tip in a second, but the first tip you gave was around using the notepad. And I was laughing in my mind because, I'm probably like most people where that notepad is used for the grocery list. Right. And maybe a couple of ideas that come to your mind, but it was a grocery list. And so when you gave the tip around using the notepad to be able to keep in touch with your prospects and clients, I mean, that right there was worth a lot of money for me.
Absolutely.
But now, where do you see your company in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, what is that big vision for KJ?
Well, next year we're going to move into a lot more of digital around the world, DVDs, having maybe different offices in different states, to be able to present to a company in another state, to be able to tell them, listen, we have training days. If you're hiring new employees, maybe last month you hired 15 new employees, get in their outside sales, get them into our training facility so then we can teach them the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of prospecting, networking, following up, and then throwing all that into your smartphone and letting it take over.
Excellent.
So we want to go nationwide, hire more trainers to do what we do, and maybe I'll just turn into a spokesman or working on new product.
Excellent.
Which I'm doing currently.
Excellent. Well, let's do this. Give us another tip in terms of helping us train our smartphones, and that could help our viewers right now. What's something else you can tell us?
Okay, so you're at a networking event and you meet somebody again and you shake their hand. Typically, everyone wants to tell you what they do for a living. It's a battle back and forth, right? You can imagine two people throwing up on each other, so to speak. This is what I do. And everyone's trying to win that. And I tell people in today's society, step back and be a giver. So as we did a little role play yesterday, if I meet you at a networking event, I want to be first to talk. So I want to say, hey, how are you? My name is KJ, you are. And then they say, I'm so-and-so. And I'll say, well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Could you tell me a little bit about what it is that you do for a living? And when they start to talk, I interrupt them on purpose to jot them real quick. And I'll say, listen, I'm sorry. Now, I put my hand on you because you're a man. If you were a woman, I wouldn't touch you. But because you're a guy, I'd say, listen, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the reason why I ask is because in my line of work, I run across a lot of individuals. So if you give me a 30-second synopsis of what it is that you do for a living, as I run across those individuals, I'll be more than happy to send them your way. No referral fee necessary. Now they're excited. They're ready to tell you everything. So they're talking, you exchange cards. While they're talking, you're taking notes on the back of the business card. So now they're excited about telling you everything, and they see you paying close attention by taking notes. From there, we show you how to get that business card, that 5, 10, 15, 20 in minutes into your smartphone, and then allow your smartphone to take over to follow back up with them.
Wow, wow.
Absolutely.
Most networking functions are battle of who can get the most cards, who can give the most cards. So I think what you just said is really critical. Before we close, the book that, I know you've written a couple of books, but the one that kind of caught my attention was From Mental Rags to Millionaire Mindset.
Absolutely.
And just that title sort of hit me. Tell us about that book.
Well, I wrote that book before my whole cancer and diabetes. I started to write. As a matter of fact, my wife would want to go to the mall, and I'd sit down in the mall while she shopped, and I wrote 90% of my book on my BlackBerry.
Wow.
And so that's a testament to people who want to write a book. You don't have to sit down somewhere and have a book coach and all this stuff. Just get your smartphone out, voice it, and then transfer it over into your desktop. So I wrote that book because I looked at my life based on where I started as a child growing up in Oakland, California, to where I'm at right now without ever going to college. Not saying that you shouldn't. I think college is a great thing, and I stress it to my kids. But for me, college just wasn't the thing. So I looked at where I was to where I am now, and I said to myself, you know, back then it was a real struggle. We didn't have any money. We were poor in mindset. And I said, you know, and then I looked at where I'm at now, and I said to myself, I believe that I could do whatever I put my mind to it, obviously with God on my side. And so the original name was The Winner Circle. But after I sat down one day and looked at my life, I said, that's the name of the book. And I think God delivered that to me as well. From mental rags to millionaire mindset on when you wake up in the morning, what's your mindset? You know, they say if you roll out on the wrong side of bed, will you flip over and roll out on the right side of bed? You're brushing your teeth. Are you thinking about when you're getting to work, who you're going to talk to? Did you get a good night's sleep? And then I give you tips and tricks on things that I did in prospecting and networking, all the way to network marketing for lawyers and doctors, bedside manners. And I just end up finally writing 26 chapters.
Wow, excellent. You know, it's funny that Dr. Wayne Dyer is one of the gurus that I follow, I read all his books and watch all his programs. He has a quote, and he says, "Whether you think you're good or bad, you're right." and it's all about the mindset, and life is all about mindset. And I think for the entrepreneurs that are watching the program, for the kids that are looking at themselves and their situation, and to see someone like yourself who they can say, you know what, that was me.
That's right.
That is me.
That's
and
right.
Look what this person has done. I think you're an inspiration to so many people, business owners, children. That goes beyond the business. Obviously, in the Break It Down Brown Show, we feature people who are experts in their field, and you're
Right.
an expert in smartphone training, and that's great, and I recommend your class. But the bigger thing is what you're doing for life and for society.
Absolutely.
How you're giving back to people, how you're helping children, how you're helping business owners that are struggling with things. And that's the essence of this program. That's why we do it. So
Absolutely.
in closing, is there anything you'd like to share with the viewers about KJ that we haven't talked about or haven't asked you yet that you want them to remember about you?
Well, I'm just an easygoing guy that I don't feel whatever level that I reach, I'm going to continue to be me. I feel like I'm a blessed man based on trials and tribulations that I've went through, and I think it's a mission that has been put on me to help those that are in a situation that believe that they just can't do it. Change your mindset, change your language, change the way you think, change the way you speak. And I'm always available. You can find me online at trainyoursmartphone.com and contact me. I'll be more than happy. I don't have a bunch of assistants in between. You call me, we can talk.
KJ, thank you very much.
Yes,
this
sir.
was an awesome discussion. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank our special guest, KJ, for being on the Break It Down Brown show today. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm much smarter now in terms of my smartphone, and it's going to allow me to be so much more efficient throughout my day. So KJ, thank you very much. If you would like to learn more about KJ's smartphone training program, please visit smartphonetrainers.com or call 949-637-9294. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the Break It Down Brown show, sponsor a show, or talk to me about being your personal coach or doing sales and leadership training for your company, please call me at 949-371-9077. Once again, 949-371-9077, or visit JamarBrown.com. You can even learn more about the Break It Down Brown show by looking at that website. Thank you all very much for taking a part in this episode of the Break It Down Brown show.